is Ahmed Wafik. He's an architect. He's a professor and teaches at the Parsons School of Design. You have your doctorate in architecture, correct? And you also teach at the other university. Remind me again.
St. John's, yeah.
St. John's University.
I used to teach there, but not anymore. Yes.
Okay. But yeah, you have an active architecture practice, and you work on residential buildings and otherwise. I told them about the mosque you were designing, and that you're involved in some research with electromagnetic frequencies and learning how to mitigate those with certain forms and the subtle energies that we talk about in biogeometry. So
maybe you have some background in construction or in architecture or in some sort of a design, and you have a goal to learn more skills in the building and the architecture design for some project, I assume, or something, or just for your own knowledge. So I don't want this to be in any way my time with you guys in a formal in any way, but I will start by just giving a background quickly about myself. My name is Ahmed Wafik. I have been working in the architecture design since about 14 years ago. I worked back in Egypt from 2007 till 2014, and then I moved here to New York and have been working about 9-10 years in New York. My architecture experience is very focused to different type of construction, but more to the way we see cities today. So I've dealt with buildings in cities in very urbanized scale, as well as working in single family construction and design. The part that kind of most link my architecture to a different biogeometrical design, which you might have heard this term biogeometry, which is related to a knowledge and a science that is based on some ancient design practices and construction practices. It goes back all the way to ancient Egyptians, as well as very direct connection to different knowledge in the Indian and Asian kind of also construction practices. But it kind of relates to how we shape our environment and our spaces. So the first thing you can think of when we are working with architecture and design, we are playing with shapes, right? At the end of the day, we are shaping our environment. And the idea is that when we shape our environment, the way we designed it, it has an outcome. It has an energetic outcome to these shapes we end up doing. And that outcome affects us mentally, emotionally, and physically. So biogeometry is about how the shapes, understanding how the shapes of geometry creates energy qualities and how these energy qualities affect us. So every single shape around you in the room you're sitting right now has a different shape, right? Some circles, some curves, some sharp angles. Whether you understand the impact of this shape on you or not, they have an energetic quality and affects your being, you know. So so that kind of science, you know, brings attention to, like, we have to be careful of what we are shaping around us, beginning from the tools we're using all the way to our buildings, which is the most important thing. It's the place we sleep at. And I'm sure, or maybe Scott at some point have talked about earth energy qualities, which is the geopathic stress and the energy grid lines of the earth. Have you talked about this, Scott, or no? Okay.
yes, briefly.
So same thing here. when you're looking at Earth, the shape of the Earth as a circular shape, it have energy qualities in it that comes out in a specific grid, and that grid is just everywhere around the surface of Earth. So when you are locating and deciding where I'm going to put my house, when you are putting it on Earth, you are connecting your structure to that Earth. So the location matters. Selecting that location matters. So what I'm selecting it based on what, you know? So we have our basic preferences is like, oh, I want this a look side that have an open exposure to the east or to the west or to the south. I want to have a water view. I want to have more sunlight. These are very important aspects for sure. And these are the things that any person with good architectural experience and design would be able to teach. But I think what Scott is doing through this course is it's not only these aspects, there are other attributes that if you take in consideration, you can make your building and your house a very healthy space for your body, for your mind, for your emotions, and physically as well. And at the same time, it can actually elevate that to a higher level to become a healing space, you know. So so the location, you know, like if I can recall something, for example, about the pyramids. I assume everyone know about the Egyptian pyramids, right? When they were built, can be built in any place as an earth, but the location where these pyramids are located is not just any place. It's selectively a specific place that has a specific qualities. When you look at other sacred sites, when they built a church or built a mosque a long time ago or thousands of years ago, or a temple, you will see that these sites hold some energy qualities that are different than other places. So the site selection is the first thing. Now, what if I have limitation to my site? Like, I mean, I can't select the best location that has any high energy qualities or good quality. Okay, I'm dealing with a site that has some negative earth grids or geopathic stress. Well, there are ways to correct it, you know. So there's knowledge of how to correct these things, how to divert these energy qualities. So that's things that I have been learning aside to my architecture, and I now are integrated as much as I can into my practices. So, so this course, I'm sure it's very comprehensive on many different levels. But I would say, given this brief introduction, I want to start by where you guys want to start. You have a program with Scott, but here I'm with you for about an hour, maybe 45 minutes. I wanna hear from you, and then I wanna get to talk with you about the things that you are interested to know from my background.
How long have you been interested in this?
I have been interested in this during the time I was finding a topic to do my master's degree. I was trying to research in something that's interestingly and new. I was getting into conservation and preservation of buildings, and then I kind of just done it for 2 months, and it's like, okay, I know this. I don't want to do it. I want something new, something interesting. And then by chance, I attended a lecture by Dr. Ibrahim Karim. He's this, like, basically the founder of the science of biogeometry. And the moment I heard that presentation and understood what is related to, there are a lot of things in the ancient knowledge that we don't know. I realized, like, okay, I want to learn about it, and I want to see how I can integrate this knowledge into architecture design. And it started from there. So I would say since 2000 and since 2008 or 9.
So it's sort of like an epiphany.
Yes, exactly.
Hello.
Uh,
I'm definitely interested in you know, you were talking about the energetic properties of a site. Um, Assuming a lot of us, you know, we can't just choose exactly where we want to live or share community. Um, so how can we work? Well, one, tune into what the space is already giving to us, but then also how to shift it, or I don't know. I don't have the lingo for it, but hopefully that made
I
sense.
understand. So basically what you're trying to say is that like you have a site that this is what you have, and that's the only thing you can use. So how I can correct my site to make sure it's a healthy site, correct?
Yeah.
So basically it starts by some tools to assess. So the site needs to be assessed on knowing if there is grid lines, which most likely there have to be grid lines passing through. And there are different kinds of grid lines. There's something called the Hartman grid line, Kerry grid line. There is underground water, which could be also running through the site. And any water that moves under the ground, it creates an electromagnetic field around it. You know, like any movement, any motion creates some kind of a field around it. The same thing like, you know, electricity. When electricity runs in a cable, it's an electric field. But once it starts moving, the magnetic field starts to create. So the same thing with water as it moves. So the first thing is assessing the site, knowing where all these grid lines are, and I see it on the boundaries of the property line, everything within my property line, I can see it. And if I even can measure beyond my property lines a little bit so I can see everything, that's even better. So I mark this on a map and I get to see the grid, okay? And I end up also detecting where's my underground water running, if there is, and I can see this all on a map. Now you're gonna tell me, okay, how do I find these things? What I measure with? So if you learned at some point about biogeometry, you will get to be exposed to a measuring method called radiesthesia. You can write this word, radiesthesia. It's Radiesthesia, radiesthesia, which is a technique of detecting the micro electromagnetic fields or energy qualities in a given space using the body, using the human body. And to try to explain it also in a simple way is, if we have devices right now that can measure gamma rays, right? It can measure alpha waves, beta waves, but there are very microwaves in the environment, which called the micro waves. There is no devices that they can detect it. However, it's there, it's existing. The same thing like when gamma rays was there and we didn't have a device to measure it. It doesn't mean that it did not exist. It was just we didn't have the tools to measure. So from ancient knowledge, this technique of measuring has been restored in a way through different tools. And some of these tools you might have heard about are called L rods, okay? And the pendulums, okay? Radiesthesia, also another name for it, you can hear it in the field, it's called dowsing, okay? But I don't want you to mix dowsing with the knowledge that you get to see how sometimes in movies the way they project it is like, oh, you know, some spell and magic. No, we're talking about pure measurement aspects here, because you know this kind of knowledge of dowsing or anesthesia, some people use it in a wrong way that just diffuses a little bit the intention of trying to measure things in your environment, and you know they bring a lot of mental elements involved with it, and this is not what we do in biogeometry. So in a simple way, back long time ago, when people wanted to know if there's an underground water somewhere to be able to dig and make a well, they used to use a wooden stick, you know, that's holding it from two hands, and it has like an extended piece that is very sensitive to move. And this method is basically because the piece of wood comes from a tree trunk, and it has some water content. And when you're moving, walking, and you pass over a water, underground water, what happened is the electromagnetic field of the water that's running under your feet starts to vibrate the electromagnetic field of the water content in the wood stick you're holding. You got what I mean? This is called resonance. It's called resonance. And it's the same way like the experiment that we did at school when we used two metal forks, you know, the forks that you vibrate one and then the other one starts to vibrate. It's because these two pieces of fork are exactly identical, and when one vibrates, the waves transfer in the air and start to push and vibrate the other fork. Okay, that's exactly the same thing when they were detecting water long time ago with the wood stick. The vibration of the water under the ground is coming in the same field of the water in the wood stick, so the wood stick starts to vibrate, and this is when they know, oh, there's water under the ground. So radiesthesia or dowsing is using the same thing, same technique, but using the human body to sense these energies. So when they use the pendulum and walk above a location or a spot that has negative energy qualities, which is, we call it geopathic stress, okay? That pendulum or that L rod goes to a negative direction, saying that my energy qualities or wavelength of my body is in negative harmony, it's not in good resonance with something in that location. Or if I'm passing or standing on a positive spot that has good energy qualities, or a sacred or a good quality that when I'm standing in it, it does not harm me, that pendulum is gonna rotate clockwise in the positive direction, or the L rod will go in the positive side. So this is how we measure these energy grid lines of the site and detect the underground water. Once we have the map and everything is in front of us, we made that survey, we start to see a pattern of intersections, meaning, I don't know if this is clear, I was doing some sketching here, but if you see, this is the site, let's say, okay? I kind of detected all my grid lines, and now I detected that there's an underground water here. I will start to look at the areas that have intersection between my underground water with another cross-section between two grid lines and get to see these spots. These spots have higher intensity of energy. And that does not mean it cannot be, it does not mean it is negative. No, it can be positive, but I have to measure it. So once I detect these intersecting points, then I measure again to detect and know if they are positive effect or negative effect. If they are positive effect, then I mark it and I locate it, and I will take this in consideration when I'm designing my house. And I want to make my living room to be the most healing spot in the building, then I will most likely make my living room on that spot. Or if my bedroom, this is my spot. So, or I'm making it in an area where I'm gonna put some water fountain to distribute that energy further from that spot to the rest of the site. There are a lot of ways to magnify the energy quality. Now, what if this is a negative spot? Then the first thing I can do, or the easiest thing I can do, is when I make my building, I'm avoiding my house to be on that spot. So I'm keeping away from it, okay? And I will put some other stuff here, maybe some kind of planters or some kind of geometrical shapes, which what we do in biogeometry, that will harmonize this energy quality to be from negative to at least being neutral. If not, in some cases, even we can turn it into positive, okay? So the least thing can be done is preventative, being away from that negative spot. And what if I cannot be away from it? Then we have to spend some time working around this spot to fix it until it's neutralized or positive, and then I can put my house located on that. Okay, so it's like, you know, you are knowing what are the positive and negative things on your site, so you can be able to locate your building properly. You're able to design around it. It's kind of like your blueprint for energy qualities of your site. Now, the application of geometry to create energy quality that is positive for you and your family and your health is limitless. I mean, especially with biogeometry, which is we can shape anything with to make it effective with energy quality. That's a good one for us. So, I mean, I will show you some examples of different things. Let me share my screen. 1 second. Does everyone see the screen, the chair? Okay. So, for example, as I said, this can go to any kind of field of design. So I'm just showing you an example of a chair that I was designing for the purpose of comfort, function, everything. And then I end up tweaking the design slightly to make it biogeometrical effective so it can create this good energy quality. So as you see, it's just a basic two structure on the right side and the left side here, and between it there's like horizontal slats, okay, to support the body. And this was all based on basic ergonomics of how the person is comfortable on that chair, okay. There's a base that braces the chair from the bottom and one from the top, okay. The design of this chair, when it was initiated, it started completely based on function and aesthetics. And then one of the applications of biogeometry is using the number and quantity. So I had here, for example, 26 pieces of slats. I end up making it 28 because 28 amounts as a quantity is much more better in terms of the energy quality. The shapes that holds these slats, it was tweaked very slightly to achieve that. So I'm showing this example is that to be able to create a good energy quality from design and shapes, it can go to any scale, not just architecture, okay? I will try to show you also some slides here of how was applied in architecture. This is an image of what I was showing you or trying to explain about the site, you know? These are grid lines here, Hartman grid line, Carey grid line, Banker grid line, and then there's different intersection spots here. And there's an underground water here. And this is like kind of the map that you want your site to look if you are gonna give, you know, that assessment for your site. I'll show you also another example of how biogeometry can be implemented. So there are one of the design, by the way, biogeometry has 9 design methods. One of them here, which is measures the height of the buildings or pieces in a site, and based on the proportion and the height of that building, you determine some spot that has positive energy quality because of the height of the building and the proportions as well. If we are locating like, you know, a bench beside our house, the distance between of my bench and the house, just slightly adjusting them with the pendulum can make a big difference. You can basically put the bench instead of like, let's say you want to put it in a location that was 5 feet away from your house, okay? And by measuring the BG3 energy quality that is created from the height of your house, you can find that there's a spot that's literally 5 feet and 3 inches away or 6 feet away. Wouldn't you want to just move it 1 feet to make it a healthy spot? That's exactly what biogeometry says. And the energy quality, as I said, it can be created from different 9 design methods. This is one of them, which is how an existing chair, let's say in your room, looking at your room, if you have a desk that is permanently in the same location, by measuring, you can find that around your desk, there are few spots that have a BG3 energy quality. just because of your desk being inside already. Because every single shape has an effect, you know. In your room, if you have like 10 pieces of furniture, they will create, let's say, quality, let's name it X, energy quality that's X. The moment you take a chair out, or you remove one candle from this room, or add another piece, the energy quality in that space have changed. Okay, there's something that changed. I'm not talking about whether it's good or bad. I'm just saying that that quality have actually changed, you know. Here, this is the same thing I was just telling you about. This is a fence of a little garden and locating where the bench will be. We want the benches to be around that little garden, but the distance between the fence and the bench, when we measure it and understand this design method, then we can be able to locate it on an already natural BG3 energy quality that's there. It's already made because there's a fence. You know, we don't need to create it. Now, when we're talking about creating from scratch, we are talking about design from anything that is not depending on something existing. There are different design methods in biogeometry, which has to do our height to the width, how we can create some centers from our shapes that create this energy quality, and how our shape, after it's finalized and it's done, how to add some elements that distribute this energy quality to the surroundings. So this bench, for example, that you're seeing in front of you, that location here and that spot, and that curve here create BG3 energy quality from here. Okay. Now the fact that this piece of the back, this is directing to the upwards, I'm taking that energy quality from here and distributing it from the top part. And the fact that I extended the base of the bench a little bit to the front, I'm taking that energy quality from that center, expanding it here. So I'm kind of making my bench not just serve healthy to the person who's using it, but also trying to make it as a distributing element in the space, you know. And take that from a little utensil spoon that you're eating all the way to making a building, you know. We're talking about the proportions of the windows, the proportion of one window to the other one, the size of the building with relation to the site and its location. We're talking about the materials and the proportions of the window mullions, you know, how a window can have a mullions and different transoms and stuff. All of these things, anything that you can control how it would look, it gives you an opportunity to add positive energy quality in your hand, you know. So yeah, I hope this answered the question about the, you know, I took it a little bit to further details, but I hope it answered your question. I think from the stuff that I said, I already created a lot of questions in your mind right now.
Well, I think my questions are at this time having to do with, you know, let's just say that we get a new piece of land and we can do some dowsing or radiesthesia or hire somebody to help us with that part. Find these, you know, particular power points, the power locations there at that site. You know, how do you proceed from there to maybe envision what type of building will fit with the energy of that site? And you know, once you understand where to put it, then you have a method to project what type of shapes will fit that location.
Got you. Okay. You saw that example. I'm gonna go back to the bench for a second for a reason. You see that bench in front of you, that design, right? This was just to show a schematic of how biogeometry is implemented, right? Versus the other picture that I showed you for the bench that was designed with like more organic shape, okay? the difference between here and this is like, I wanted a specific style. I wanted a specific art, sense in it, maybe related to some cultural aspect, maybe related to some religious aspect or personal preferences, right? So that when it comes to how I want to start with with what kind of look I'm looking for, right? And now we're talking also about the building materials. We should also consider the building materials. Is like there have to be a starting point, and sometimes the starting point is not ABC. There is no ABC for it. Don't think like when you design a building, you have to start from that spot. Like, oh, I have to be a square or be a rectangle in order to respect this. No, it doesn't work like that. You have some goals. You might all be doing the same projects, let's say, but each one of you have a different desire from that building. So make always this as the starting point. When we're talking about the site and an assessment of the site, yeah, this is basics. It's just to let you know what should I avoid and what should I magnify, okay? But when it comes to my building, is like what this building is going to be. I want 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms in this house, right? Or I want like a 2-bedroom, and I want a little meditating room for myself. I want a play space for my kids. Like, this is where things starts, like what I want to design inside, right? Okay, now when we're talking about the building materials, if my main preferences is like I want to build with building materials from the local area, then what is my local materials in the area? Oh, I have clay that I can use. Good. I have gravel. I have sand. Then now I'm already having somewhere to start. That this is what I'm gonna use. I'm gonna use local building materials, right? So that by itself gives you some limitation to how your exterior wall will be, how big are the openings will be, how so on and so on. Okay, and the levels of application go to the sun orientation. If you're in a cold climate, you want to have more exposure to the south, for example, to get more sun into your house, right, or to the building. If you are in a hot climate region, you want to be able to divert the sunlight that's going directly into your space, so you're getting light, but you're not getting the heat inside. So it's not a very simple question. Is like where to start. It's like really from what do you want, and then things can start from there. So. Does this make sense?
Yes, I agree. You have some examples of application of these same biogeometry principles in buildings?
Yeah. I can show the mosque. Yeah, I'll just show you some images and then I will go into details, explain it. Okay. This is the exterior look of the building, just so you can take a look at it. That's a shot from the interior. This is a design for a mosque. This is a shot from the interior at the 2nd floor, mezzanine, looking to the lower floor. This is a shot from the exterior. This is from the 1st floor, looking upwards to the 2nd floor mezzanine. And this is another exterior one. Let me open another sheet and I will explain to you about this design. Okay, so when I designed this mosque, I had limitation to that this is the site that I have to design on it. Okay, it's not an open site that needs to be selected. This is the site that we need to design on it. Okay, so there is, of course, some assessment that was done when it comes to the energy. Okay, to the what I just explained the same way. It's not just showing here because here's just more showing the architectural features. But I want to explain about the building look. if you look at the side here, you will notice that there is a ramp, okay, that goes from this direction and a ramp that goes from this the other direction, which both leads to take a full circulation around the building, okay, that goes all the way to the top, and then it goes rotate back inside the building. So that ramp is continuous from the exterior grade level, and you go all the way up to the highest point, which is here, okay, and then you once again enter the building from the roof and go inside to that picture that I was just showing. So here's the ramp. So you come inside and go inside the building until you reach inside down to the first grade. Look, the conceptual part of it, there is a big part. I can spend an hour just speaking about the concept and behind the design, but I want to just focus on the biogeometry aspect, okay? Here, one of the design principles to create an energy equality is from the center. And when I am shaping my ramp to be, both of them are like almost against each other, counterclockwise, that shape creates a huge BG3 energy equality in the center of my shape, which is my shape here is the building, okay? So I have literally, by utilizing these ramps for, of course, functional reasons, architectural reasons, I have also utilized them to be a magnifying shape to create the BG3 energy equality in the center of my building, okay? So I know it almost looks like a twister, but in a way, it does create that energy equality inside, you know? So this is one of the applications. The main piece of biogeometry that's involved here is actually how these ramps are wrapping around the building and creating this inside. And considering this is a place where a very holy activities and praying being performed, it already elevates that from an energy level spiritually and, you know, emotionally as well. Now the pattern here also, when you look at the pattern on the exterior of the building, okay, if you're familiar with like Islamic patterns, they actually are very, very well grounded with sacred geometry and biogeometry. And it's hard to say that like back then, did they know how to measure these energy qualities during the Islamic, you know, golden age, I would say, maybe, but most of the Islamic patterns, they do create good energy BG3, you know. But, you know, diving into the art of the Islamic architecture, it's so broad, and it has to do a lot with symmetry, and symmetry creates equilibrium, and equilibrium in a way do create good energy quality. So this pattern also was implemented and measured to add this quality on the exterior of the building. I want to show you part of the concept of the design has so much connection with the center. So, you know, if Muslims, when they pray, they direct their when they stand and pray, they look towards Mecca, which is in Saudi Arabia, that location, everyone from the world. So if you think about it or try to visualize it, everyone from the world, when they're performing as Muslims, they are looking to the same center point, right? And then when they go once a year in their lifetime to visit Mecca to do their pilgrimage, part of that rituals is that they rotate around the Kaaba 7 times, okay? They rotate around the Kaaba 7 times. And when you look at that ritual and try to look what is that movement or that motion is connected to everything else in the universe, you will start to look at, beginning with the solar system, okay? You're gonna realize that the moon rotates around the earth rotates around the sun rotates around, you know, the galaxy, and so on. There's something bigger and bigger that's always being rotated around, right? And when you look at the micro elements of matter, what are we made of? You're gonna realize we're made of atoms, right? And that atom is consisting of a center that has an electron rotating around it. So literally, from the most micro aspect of our how we are made, and everything else in the universe is made, it's an electron rotating around the center, and then you go above the moon, the earth, the sun, the entire solar system, and then what is the ultimate center? It's God. You know, that's the concept of the design, that the ultimate center is God, and everything is just rotating around it in order to gain energy to live, you know. So that's why from that connection, I try to connect the Muslims annual ritual to go to Mecca and rotate around the Kaaba to the universal aspect, that it's literally that movement and that motion is in everything in our creation, you know. So from there, I decided to come up with that shape. That there's other aspect that was led me to that shape, but you will see that the rotation is very well involved in it. Considering that every project you can be doing can have a different story, I will tell you a little bit about the story about that design inside. So the ramp going from the ground outside and then reaching back to the first floor again was to say that the human being, once they are born and they live on Earth, they end up growing not just as an age, but they end up growing spiritually as well, you know. And if they are on a path where they are growing spiritually, then they are rising, you know, they are rising. And at the same time, where's the PDF? At the same time, there is a point where they're gonna start to get old, right? And they're gonna start to age back. So at their peak of their energy, when we're 40 years old, that's, you know, let's say that's the best, the most smart level we can be, the most energetic we can be. And we can start after that, maybe start to get weak a little bit, like we become back like a baby almost. So this is considered the high point here of the ramp. After you go up, you're growing, and going up, that's the highest point where you are at your full peak of energy. And then you start getting old and go inside the mosque. As a ramp, you're downgrading back to your end of life. Where this ramp ends inside, in the mosque, it ends by a room that Muslims always have at the mosque, which is called the Janazah room, which is a room that the person who died, they bring his body there and they wash him, prepare him to, you know, to go and get buried, you know. So that kind of ramp also was, as it was functional and as it was biogeometrical, it was also symbolic to the, you know, to the journey of life a human being or a Muslim, you know, go from born to death, you know. So there's a lot of stories in this building. So that's why I was saying it's important to know which story you're trying to write in your building, your design, you know, and what is the intention. And it doesn't have to be that complicated. You know, I had my own reasons to implement all these things together, but you might just want to make a house that is just healthy for you and just constructible wise and architectural wise is good for the environment that you're in. And that's it. That might be your goal. You know, it doesn't have to be complicated, you see? So, but if you want to get it complicated and you want to make it advanced, you can if you want. And you get to see how you want to do it.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I just wanted to comment that the mosque is beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark.
I like the interplay with the light.
Oh yeah, you know what? Let me mention something. You just pointed to something, reminded me of something. You see the skylight on the top, right? So there is no source of light coming, uh, as you can see here, is only coming from the top, right? But at the same time, let me get the floor plan to show you the complexity of this design in a way. So this is the first floor. It has the main praying hall at the first floor that you saw. There are some other administration offices, ablution, bathrooms, and different spaces there. But you can see the exterior of the wall, the exterior wall. It's not like a continuous wall. You see that it's broken, right? You see it's shifting, right? This is actually a refraction where every piece here is refracted from the piece behind because there is a little window pocket in between. That window pocket is literally bringing light to the whole space as well, which reduces the need to have artificial lighting during the day. So you might see in the picture that the only source of light is coming from the skylight, okay, and it gives light to the main praying hall. But what about the offices and the rooms and there's a kids room, there's different things where they're getting the light from. So actually they are getting natural light from these pockets. So you see, and it creates the same privacy. It does not break any visual privacy, but it brings light inside. So, and that skylight, in the center of it, there's a circular skylight, which on its perimeter does have like a gutter, a water gutter. So when the water and the rain, when there's rain, all the water is being collected through that gutter, okay? And that gutter is then draining into a tank, so recycle that water. So the skylight is functioning both as a light source at the same time to collect all the water footprint of the building and distribute it or reuse it. Here, the circular skylight as well is designed to be in a location where at one hour of the day, it's projected on that area where the main leading person who's leading the prayer. Above it, you can see the word God in Arabic, and the light, the natural skylight, is taking the sunlight, shaping it into a circular shape, and projecting it on that spot where the name of God is. So playing here with the light to make it, achieve different purposes. Here, this is a cross section showing the first floor, the second floor mezzanine, and then the third floor mezzanine and the skylight. The ramps are also inside or under the ramp. There's the mechanical systems like the HVAC system, condensers, and stuff like that. This is what I was just explaining here about the exterior wall and the light that's going inside without breaking the privacy. So the person who's on the ramp cannot literally see anything inside, but the sunlight is coming inside, I think briefly I managed to explain most of it, but there's other stuff. Here, for example, if you have solar panels and you wanna make sure they are located in a proper direction and serves well the energy of your building, you can do an analysis, a sun radiation study, where you can go on some websites, provide services where you can locate your location on the site, and you put your model. After you make your 3D model, you can run an analysis, and it tells you what are the most parts of the building are exposed, or have high exposure to the sun. So it helps you to locate your sun, your solar panels as well. So that was one of the analysis and studies that were done.
Yesterday in one of our presentations, they were talking about how the sacred geometry for like temples and sacred spaces wasn't necessarily the best for your living environment. So I was just wondering if there are ways to include sort of sacred space in your home environment, specifically if if you're having like a prayer area or a space for, ancestral time, or for me specifically a dance area, like a dance, space that's incorporated into the living area is something I'm really interested in, utilizing those more sacred geometries. But how do those work in harmony with the living space?
Okay, you can divide it into two aspects. One is functional, which meaning is I am making my living spaces in a way not directly facing or interacting my maybe spiritual spaces or my yoga, meditating, or dance. I'm trying to give some segregation, although they are all in the same building, but you can design them in a way that they feel segregated if you want to segregate them. So that's one part, is how to make my spaces a little bit feel like I went from one place to another, yet they are both in the same building envelope. The second part is, if you want to say like more like building materials. So I will let's say it's a dance studio, as you said. So you want to make sure that the walls separating between your dance studio and your living spaces to be very well insulated for sound. And that goes all the way how that wall is going to be built up. And there are different ways, many different ways you can do that sound insulation, between putting an insulation between air barriers, between making sure you're sealing all the penetration in that wall, especially mechanical stuff. So if you have like a duct, let's say, or an opening or a louver that's going through that wall, you have to seal that opening very well. Get to seal your electric openings, like you have an outlet in that wall between the studio and the living space. Electric outlet, electric switch, get to seal this or kind of around it in the wall, beef it up with some insulation, because usually any little openings or penetration, this is where things go through, So that's more from a building side. The third thing is, it goes back to the design, which is how you can segregate the spaces, but they're in the same building, but how to energetically, if you want to bring that level involved, is like, if I am going to make my prayer room and I'm going to be sitting and looking, for example, in a specific direction, maybe I want my direction on that wall behind it to be maybe the outside, the outdoor, and not my living space.
So concerning the harmonization of the electromagnetic frequencies that are well known to be harmful to our health, I know some of the research that you've done is addressing that, and there are some shapes and little symbols and devices created by Ibrahim Karim that are also addressing this. I mean, I have one on my phone here, this L90 that you see in there. But I'm wondering, what is the best approach? Like, is someone who's seeking to harmonize these things, should they just hire a consultant, or figure out a way to do this on their own, maybe getting some of these products, possibly using some kind of home EMF measuring tools? Like, I have this this EMF meter right here. I don't know how well it works, but maybe you can give us some pointers and tips about your opinion about how to harmonize these effects.
So this should also be taken into the aspect is like how much I want to get to prevent myself from this, you know. I would say let's divide it into three categories. You know, the first one is just basic preventatives. You know, and everyone who is aware of the impact of electromagnetic fields, the more you are closer, the rule of thumb for electromagnetic fields is the further you're away from it, the better it interacts, the less it interacts with your body. Okay, that's the rule of thumb. Meaning, if I am sitting and working with my laptop and I'm putting it on the desk, it's much better to you than it's on your lap. Okay. You already have simply prevented a lot of electromagnetic fields to like basically penetrate every part of your organs just by moving it from your lap to putting it on your desk. Okay. So that little distance made a huge difference. Okay. Okay. Now, this also applies to basic electric cables. You know, when we're talking about, I'm sitting by my lamp on my reading corner, and there's a lamp beside me. That cable, it doesn't need to be literally sticking to me. I can push it away to make it as farther as possible from my body. Okay, makes a huge difference. When I'm going to sleep, my phone is on airplane mode or off, and if it's on airplane mode, it's not close to my head. See, very simple thing. There is actually one little experiment I want you all to try, just you will get to see the difference and the impact of this. If you go to sleep and you have your Wi-Fi on at the house, okay, as this is anyone when they go to sleep, the Wi-Fi is usually on. Raise your hands. Okay. For those of you who go to sleep and the Wi-Fi is on, I want you to shut it off before you sleep. And of course, don't put your phone beside you when you sleep or put it on airplane mode, okay? And I just want you to see how much difference you will wake up the next day. Beginning by dreams. You will most likely, those of you who sleep on Wi-Fi, every day you just have a weird dreams that you don't know anymore, any relation to it. This is how you live. You're like, I wake up with a weird dreams. Oh, why I dreamed about this, why I dreamed about this. And that's it. That's how you live. Now, have you ever tried to wake up without any weird dreams, just to wake up as like, I just woke up without recalling anything even from my sleep? This is how I shut down your Wi-Fi and you will see that big difference. And here's the thing. Wi-Fi is a carrier wave. It's in the air. Okay, so it reaches you no matter where you are. However, the rule of thumb is being far from it still applies strongly. If I got that device in Scott's hand and measured where he is right now sitting, let's say it will record 10 voltmeter volt per meter, okay, as a frequency. If I started to walk towards the Wi-Fi in his house, as I walk closer to the Wi-Fi router, this number is going to start to increase and increase and increase. And within 1 feet or 2 feet from the Wi-Fi, it's going to be the highest. Okay, that's how basic electromagnetic fields is, whether it's electricity or whether it's a wireless source. Okay, so the least preventative thing to do is don't get close to these sources. Yes, they are in your house. Yes, they're around you. You already minimize 50% of your body consumption to electromagnetic fields by just doing these basic preventatives. Don't use your phone on your ears. Put a headphone here, like this. You know, I know it's old style right now to have someone having a cable headphones on your phone. Everyone is using probably wireless, but trust me, just by doing this, you're already reducing because guess what? That wireless earbuds that you have in your ears, they are actually having their own little antenna inside. Because how do you think you're hearing the voice of the other person? Like you think you see it, do you see any cable connected? No, it's in the air and it's going, catching the antenna in your ears, and then that's why you hear. So the further you are from the source, the better. Okay. Now that's the least preventative things. Now, when it comes to extra level of prevention, okay, this is when we can start talking about biogeometry again, okay, which is I can buy some geometrical shapes that are designed in particular to harmonize the negative impact of these electromagnetic waves. So if I get us one of these L shapes or some of the other shape biogeometry have already put on the market, and I go put it and stick it on the Wi-Fi router, I already have started to harmonize that wave from impacting me. Okay. So first one, preventative, get away from it as much as you can. If you're buying a house or a land, okay, don't buy it if you can. Avoid being beside power lines. So don't be beside large power lines. Don't be beside a huge transformer. If you can do that, that's a great asset. That's prevention again. Right? So anything beyond prevention of these basic things that everything can do, everyone can do, biogeometry is going to speak. That's how I can do it. Because and again, biogeometry, don't take it as an information of like, oh, it's some consultation you have to bring to get to harmonize your space. No, by just learning basic things about biogeometry, you're gonna start to be able to harmonize some stuff, you know. And it depends. The more you want to learn about it more, then you can. You know, it can go to a very extreme level of consultation to commercial work and residential work, but that's up to you how far you want to go with. You know, there are consultants in biogeometry. They are called biogeometry practitioners. They are licensed by Biogeometry Ltd. Not anyone can go and provide services using biogeometry. He has to be licensed by the company because it's a liability. You know, when you're playing with energy, it can be, you know, like if someone came and fixed your AC and he broke something, it's so easy to say like, oh, you know what, you didn't fix it. I want back my money, or I want you to come and back fix it. But how are you gonna get to determine if energy was not done correctly? So that's why in biogeometry they take it a little bit serious, that like it's a liability. They have to make sure whoever is playing with energy in someone's life then he's done it right. But you can take that knowledge. Once you understand it, you can be able to do it for your own life, and you're gonna be able to improve it every day, you know.
How do you become certified in biogeometry?
It's just a few courses basically. So the introductory courses that just get you to understand the knowledge and to start to use it and start to implement it and to understand the science behind it. It's usually 1, 2, 3 courses. Okay, one is called the foundation course, one is called the intermediate, and one is called the advanced. Okay, these things are gonna bring you to like be able to do everything you need to do with biogeometry, even with design in a way, to a certain level. Now, to become a person who is going to provide such service of consultation to someone else commercially, there's a specific course. It's called the practitioner course. And that one is basically the company makes sure you understand the knowledge properly, which what you have learned, but they just want to make sure and verify and test you on it, just to make sure you can provide that service to other people. That's it. So up until that practitioner course, total of 4 courses. So 3 knowledge and 1 called practitioner. 3 knowledge, 3 courses for knowledge, and 1 practitioner. And the 3 courses they built up. 1 is foundation, intermediate, and advanced. You can go to biogeometry.com and you will see all the different information and where they give the courses. They are everywhere around the world. There's like usually multiple practitioners who are teaching the course in different cities. So you will find in the US, you will find in Europe, you will find in Italy, you will find in Asia. So wherever you are, you will have someone that they have in that city or country.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
I have a question. Um, are you using AI at all to assist you with sketching and things like that these days?
To be honest, I have not. I only just tried it from an exploratory point of view, just to see what is this, how it's interesting. But I have not used it. Uh, no, I haven't. I haven't because I feel actually it will limit me a little bit in a way. Because don't forget, like it can be such a great tool for people who are not necessarily in the industry as much as I am. I'm literally, my profession is architecture. So I kind of like to take it the traditional proper way. And even with the, because architecture, part of it is art, it's not only engineering. Engineering is a huge part of it, but a big part of it is art, so when it comes to art, I like to make sure it's um it's not influenced by anything else, but I think soon I'm gonna utilize it not from a design initiation perspective, but more from improving the engineering part of the building, you know bless you. More from engineering part. So basically, utilize some AI to analyze the building performance when it comes to energy, analyze it or modify it in a way to improve also energy performance, some sun exposure, and so on and so on. Like as I already have something developed, how I can improve it, but not. I don't think I will ever be studying architecture design by AI. No, I will bring it at a later level in the design phase to improve my design, but not initiate my design.
Are you using some type of variety of software to, analyze the sun angles and things like that?
Yes. So there is. So if you're in the drawing and you have softwares that you draw, you'll probably be familiar with AutoCAD, which is the most known software for drawing 2D. But right now there's other software programs for 3D modeling, and one of them is called Revit. If you're familiar with it, it's a very advanced 3D model engineering software, and it has plugins that you can implement in your model that you can get to study the sun exposure and analysis. There's also some websites that are available. Sometimes some of them are for free or with subscription that you can get to know the sun exposure for a site. But if you want to get to already have a building, you already have a building, and you want to see how that building is affected by its location with the sun and everything, then it's probably have to be one of these softwares, 3D models like Revit. Also, Grasshopper. There's a software called Grasshopper. It can also provide a lot of analysis to the building, including the sun.
Can the students get in touch with you through your website or something like that?
Sure.
Right, and your website is ahmedwafik.com.
Yes, correct.
Brilliant. Well, thank you again so much for being here, Ahmed. We really appreciate your time and energy to teach us a few things and share your projects. And
thank you. It was my pleasure, and good luck with your journey and learning about architecture and design. And Scott is an amazing person, so I'm sure you're in good hands.
thank you.
Okay, guys, take care.
Talk to you soon. Take
Talk
care,
soon.
Ahmed.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.